What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Zoomed In. Tim here with the Investing Bros live show. I'm sure we're going to fix that here in just a second, but we got a lot to talk about today. Of course, FOMC day. Technically, that press conference is still going on as we speak. They're definitely wrapping up, but we heard the majority of what they wanted to say. We're going to be breaking that down for you guys. The first thing, in case you did not know and you waited for the Investing Bros live show to hear, I'm so honored if that's what you did, but we did get a pause as expected. But we knew a pause was coming. The question was, were we going to see a dovish, a hawkish, or a neutral Jerome Powell? And I'm going to get into some details of what he said in case you guys have not been listening to that press conference. Again, it's technically still live, but it's going to be over here in just a couple of minutes. But we did see an overwhelmingly neutral Jerome Powell that possibly is leaning hawkish. And so I went back and forth on the title today. You guys might have noticed, those of you who got in early, it kept changing on you a little bit. The real question here, regardless of what the title says when you're watching this, is Bitcoin's going to resume the rally? Are they going to see it? We got the pause from the Fed, but based off of what Jerome Powell said, are we about to see Bitcoin continue and potentially turn this sideways movement into that bull flag and maybe make a move up towards 39,000? Or are we about to see Bitcoin retrace in a Bart Simpson type pattern, maybe pull back around $30,000 to $31,000? We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more. Solana has continued to make its tear. In fact, in case you guys did not see it, I made a video this morning at 8:30 about Solana. I confessed that there was a prediction I had made that I didn't have a lot of faith in, but I resumed that prediction this morning saying that I thought that we would see Solana get to $46. And guess what we did literally within the last hour? Solana went all the way to 46, up 20% since I made that video this morning, just as I predicted. That's pretty cool. We're going to take a look at that and a lot more. Make sure you go ahead, though, and if you're in here, hit the like button. If we haven't tickled your fancy just yet, you can wait on the like button. We'll get into some good details later on the show. But those of you who love the Investing Bros, hit that like button. I am joined by T. Shroom today, all the way from Gainesville, Florida. We might be joined by Brody as well, depending on his nap time. He's once again, I'm at home with my monitor on Brody, so we'll see if he makes a special appearance. But T. Shroom, how are you feeling all the way down there in Gainesville, Florida?
Well, Tim, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling
That's
better
good.
than I deserve, which is saying a lot because I deserve a lot with how hard I've been working. It's been a lot of fun here, though. I've had a good morning and I've gotten a lot done and had a little bit of time to relax as well. Do I have a quote of the day? Yes. And it's brought to you by my mom. So my mom got me this mug.
That's awesome.
And it says, "The love between a mother and son knows no distance." And so that's a lot of fun, Tim. You'll notice that it's down here in
This
Florida.
is a little confusing. And yeah, it's showing Oregon and Florida, and
Correct.
yet your mom and you live, I think, within 30 minutes of each other, not Oregon and Florida.
Okay. So, Tim, that is correct and is accurate. However, my mom recently went on a trip. But get this. She gave this to me, but get this. She did not get this custom made online. She found it at a thrift store.
So what she's saying to you, T-Shroom, if we can break this down, is if she ever travels to Oregon, she still loves you. But any other state, it's up in the air at this point.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of the conclusion we're coming to here, and we're having a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, Indie Rock Crypto. Yeah, in case you guys are confused, if anyone just joined and all they see is a mug of T-Shroom and saying his mom gave it to him, his mom does not live in Oregon. His mom lives in Gainesville, Florida, right with him. But she travels, I guess. Good for Mama Shroom.
That's right.
Shroom, technically. You are the only Shroom. The rest of your family are Shrums. Yeah,
sure.
Cool. Well, that's really good. Let's dive in here. We're going to go ahead and get into some details. T-Shroom, did you get a chance to watch any of the press conference from Jerome Powell? Let's kind of just kick it off. It's fresh. It's new. You can stay on my screen if you want. We can go down the 5-minute chart. We can watch what Bitcoin is doing. That's another prediction. I made 2 predictions in this morning's video, and they're both coming true. The first one, let's go look at it. Solana came right up here, touched 46.79. Those of you who did not watch the video, go watch it anyway, but I'm going to do the TA for you. We technically talked about this prediction before. I just didn't think it was going to happen. You guys see my 2 red lines there? That is an ascending triangle, and the breakout prediction of these ascending triangles, as you guys can see that yellow line, this moves over, and that's what this one is right here. It literally went right to the top of my line, T-Shroom. How about that prediction? That's pretty cool. The second prediction I made was that while we don't know what Jerome Powell and the Fed are going to do, the one thing we can predict is FOMC volatility. Well, guess what happened? We had a massive pump this morning, right around 8:45. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Had a nice pump at 8:45, another big pump at 9:15, right in that like half hour area. It's Tron. It's what's his name? Oh gosh, the guy who started Tron. What's his name? Justin Sun. If you look at the time period, every coin that he's heavily invested to pumped. All the ones he's not invested in did nothing. So we know Justin Sun bought some Bitcoin, but guess what? After buying in a half-hour bunch, we got a big red wick, and then we dropped all the way back down to 34,000. After getting back up to, guess what we hit, guys? We double topped back up here. We actually set a slightly higher high. We went all the way to 35.2 when technically here on Coinbase, we had not quite hit that 35.2. But in reality, that's so close. It's like a triple top of that same area. Continuing the volatility, that's the prediction I made. I said volatility FOMC days, that's the one consistency. And boom, we hit that one on the head as well. We're rallying back up right now. Interesting to see. But are you surprised by this? What are your thoughts about things that Jerome Powell said, T-Shirt? Let's go ahead and go back to Brocam for this so people aren't distracted by charts. What are your thoughts about Jerome Powell's statements in his press conference?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I did get a little time to listen to it, but I was busy making some of the thumbnails and stuff. So what do you do in a situation like that? Well, you turn to Zero Hedge. Zero Hedge being a Twitter account here. Usually on the ball, and yet again is as well. So Powell said, with 3.3 trillion in reserve, can't make a case that they're scarce. Jerome Powell will make it for you. So that's a little LOL. Power to the merciful. Power the merciful. Not exactly sure what that means. Efficiency of dot plot decays between meetings. That's true. Translation: we are totally clueless. That's kind of funny. Powell still believe likely we need to see slower growth. Oh, you will. So that's Atlanta Fed now estimating. Is that inflation? Yeah, I think that's inflation. So that's that. Let's see.
I think slower growth in jobs. They're still seeing too many jobs. That's what I heard him talk a lot about. You continue those though, and I'll clean up.
FOMC monitoring geopolitics for economic implications. I don't think they're really doing too much of that.
He didn't. Yeah, there was a question about the wars, and he kind of skirted it.
Committee. This was the one that stuck out to me big time. Committee isn't thinking or talking about rate cuts. Yeah. We are not even thinking about that. We are not even thinking about raising rates. Yeah.
They're not even thinking about thinking, and that's one thing you do know the governments don't do. They don't think about thinking. They just do. Our government are doers, T-Shirt. They're not thinkers. Right. They're doers.
Right. That's right. They're winners. They're not losers. So there's one more. Fed staff did not put recession back into their forecast at the meeting. That was a question that was kind of lingered on for a little while.
Yeah.
That's also I'd say that's pretty bullish. So that's good. FOMC hasn't made a decision on next meeting's move. Of course, they follow the data. Looking for I won't scroll back. Goodness. Looking for present material changes in financial. What is that? FinCon? What is that? Financial consolidation? Material change? Not sure exactly what that is. L to T rate rise can only reflect rate hike expectations. All right, so some of this is starting to break down, but ultimately, I think the take here is that they're just trying to play the middle line, and it was a pause. The rhetoric seemed, I wouldn't say dovish. It was just through the middle of the line.
It's pretty neutral. I would say pretty neutral. I think I agree with 100% with what Zero Hedge kind of put on there. Some significant points. First of all, I think this shouldn't shock us. Anyone who's shocked that a rate cut wasn't really on the table, hasn't really been paying attention to previous FOMC meetings. Now, some people did put it there. I did see at certain points throughout on the CME futures watch tool, they at times had like 2%. I think I saw as high as 3% chance of rate cuts, right? But Jerome Powell made it very clear that they are not asking the question at this point, should we cut rates? They're asking the question, should we raise rates? And for now, for the last 2 meetings, they've said no. No, we should not raise rates. But here is where, again, I'm not going to be surprised. I told you guys before, I'm not going to be surprised to see Bitcoin's price continue to trade sideways, a wick up to 36K. And there was enough said in this meeting that you'll see articles written, you'll see people give opinions online that say, oh, this was dovish, this is bullish. And the price of Bitcoin, more than likely, I do still think is going to get to 36K and fill the CME gap up there. But in reality, what he really said, and people don't want to hear it this way, but what he really said was the economy is doing good enough that we don't have to the economy is doing good enough that we don't have to cut rates. Yeah, that's how I want to say that. It's doing good enough we don't have to cut rates. Guys, let's remember, historically, why do we ever raise rates and why do we ever cut rates? We've talked about this before. There was a video that I was helpful in writing on Discover Crypto. Josh did an amazing job performing that one. But we talk about in that video, this might be the first time in history that we actually see a rate cut not come with a massive crash, but might actually see things rally. But here's the reason why. Historically, markets crash at pivots. When they start to cut rates, they crash. Why is that? Because a lot of times they're too slow to cut rates and we enter into a recession. And by the time they start cutting rates, it's too late. The stock market's going down. At this point, I'll have to give Jerome Powell props. They've gotten themselves into a nice little area where they're not going to let inflation on paper get out of control. They're not going to let GDP go too far negative, out of control before they make an action. Whereas in the past, we've risen rates because the economy is doing well, but inflation is getting out of control. This was the first time that we had both inflation and recession worries at the same time. Historically, we're usually in a place where the economy is doing super well, but inflation is getting out of control. So they start raising rates. All right. And then historically, we lower rates, not because everything's working out, but rather because inflation is getting better, but all of a sudden the recession hits hard due to all those raised rates, and now they react to recession, and that's why stock markets crash. In this one, we've actually done an interesting situation where we've leveled out, we've stayed middle, and that's why Jerome Powell says in this press conference, hey, I don't want to cut rates too early. We need to continue to push this further. We still have way too many jobs. In fact, the demand for jobs compared to how many are still available is not where we want it to be. We need to see a little more pain in the market. The economy, effectively saying the economy is doing too well for us to cut rates at this time. So what does that mean? We're going to need to see the economy slip on paper to cut rates. But we put ourselves in an interesting spot, again, because we have both concerns about inflation and recession, that I don't think when we do start cutting rates, we're going to see a crash in the crypto markets or even potentially the stock markets. I actually think the crash is going to be in the dollar. Inflation is going to go out the wazoo, but they'd rather have an inflated dollar than have another recession, especially going into an election year. And that's what next year is. We never see markets crash going into an election year, but this is weird. This is a weird time here in history where we have inflation problems, we have recession scares, and we have a new pivotal election coming up. To me, I see it as saying, screw the dollar. We're going to keep the current administration looking as good as possible, and we're going to keep the recession in bay for at least a couple more years. What does this spell out? I think more volatility, more sideways action. You're going to see bullish days, you're going to see bearish days, but ultimately, we're kicking the can down the road, both for anything negative or positive. We're going to see a rate cut happen sometime more than likely June to July of 2024. And in that case, we're actually going to see for the first time in history a pivot come from the Fed, and it's actually going to be extremely bullish for price action. We'll kick that can down the road to 2026, right in time for the 4-year cycle bear market, and then we'll have another amazing crash. That is my prediction, 6 months ago, that's my prediction 3 months ago, and that is my prediction today, and we're going to see if anything changes, but everything he's doing and saying is continuing to line up with that scenario. Again, I think 36K is coming for Bitcoin, guys, but I don't think we're going higher than that. Maybe a little. I mean, I don't want to say 37. Watch us get to like 36.5, right? I'm not going to count that as being ridiculous. But I'm not expecting 39,000. I'm not expecting 40,000. I am expecting that retracement to come back down to 30. Now, if we get terrible news, that's when we go lower, maybe back towards 25, maybe even, who knows. It's still a non-zero probability of a $20,000 Bitcoin. I just put that really low. A month ago, I was very high on a $20,000 Bitcoin. Right now, I give a $20,000 Bitcoin probably a 15% chance, unless we get horrible news out of left field that none of us are prepared for. What do we call that? A black swan event. Well, guess what happened 4 years ago? A black swan event. So is it possible? Yes, it is possible. Is there anything on the horizon right now? No, there's not. So realistically, we're looking at Bitcoin about to top out, have its nice, healthy retracement, more than likely somewhere back down to about 30,000. And then we're regrouping for another couple of months of volatile sideways price movement for Bitcoin, for crypto. Even Solana, guys, and we're looking at Solana. We can go to my screen here. Very, very bullish, exploding. Not going to be surprised here, guys. And I know some people are going to get upset and say, oh, that's just Tim being bearish. I'm not going to be surprised to see a similar type of movement to what we saw on XRP not that long ago. Guys, this one's a little different because 32 is definitely sticking out as a weird spot because of the fake out we had in July. But as a whole, since back here in January, with the exception of this fake out in July, $27 was very strong resistance. And if you go back and look over here, back on the 19th and 20th, when we kind of shot up through this, we didn't take any time to come back and turn this former strong level of resistance into support. Yes, we had wicks go above it here in July, but we weren't closing candles above it. What we did just now is so similar to XRP. We let the hype train get ahead. We have an amazing, phenomenal rally. I think, I could be wrong here, but if you go back all the way to the 13th, 18th area, let's go to the 18th. We'll go to the 13th. This is going to be over 90. This is going to be almost 100%. Let's see right here. Oh, over 100%. We went 122% here in this Solana rally since way back here on the 13th of October. A lot of hype. Well, what happens with hype? Just as hype inflates the balloon, when that balloon deflates, it deflates fast and it deflates hard. Not going to be surprised to see a $27 Solana once again. I'm still, by the way, in case anyone's watching and saying, oh, boo, Tim, you're so bearish. I'm still bullish on Solana long term. In reality, wouldn't you guys love to catch, we've seen the hype on Solana, wouldn't you love to catch a $27 Solana once again? And all I'll say is, People hate when you make these calls during a rally, but this is exactly what we saw with XRP. Exactly. Hype came in. We exploded 100% in one day, and I started calling for 55 cents, and people were like, oh, how the heck, Tim? There's no way. You're not taking into account this, and you're not taking into account that. No, you're right. I don't know every detail about the news and the fundamentals, but what I do know is charts, price action, how traders move psychologically. And traders, more often than not, do not blast through levels of strong resistance and not come back to revisit them, right? That's what happened with XRP. We actually didn't even end up being the strong support level. We actually ended up dropping below it. I'm not predicting a drop below. I'm going to go ahead and still say I think 27 is a pretty firm, strong support level to watch out for. But I do think this hype will wane. There's a conference happening right now that is over here in, I think, 3 days. Historically, crypto conferences have hype that come into them and they pump price action up. And then when that conference is over, there's a big sell-off. People take profits. The hype is gone and prices crash. That does not mean they won't have a good bull market. I'm still predicting probably somewhere up $700, $800 Solana, if not an $1,000 Solana. That one's a really hard one based off of tokenomics to pinpoint perfectly, but I'm putting somewhere in that range of $700 to $1,000 Solana. The difference is, and let's just look at this. If you guys are thinking I'm going to buy Solana, we don't get to vote on this. We don't get the choice. So it's not like I'm doing this chart for you guys to choose this, but I just want you to think about this logically. From where we are right now, if Solana pumps, I went way too high. If Solana, let's go middle of the ground. Let's go 900. If Solana pumps 900, yeah, that's a 19x, a 1929% rally, right? Versus if we retouch 27, that is a 31x. I'm not the greatest mathematician, but a 31x is higher than 19, and I would much rather a 31x. So whenever you guys hear me talk about these pullbacks and lower levels to buy, you shouldn't think negatively. You should actually be like in the boat of saying, yeah, I want that to happen. I really hope that happens. Well, guess who hopes that happens and have control to do it? Whales, institutions, people that maybe missed the boat on this slide. This is how their psychology works. They broke a psychological level of resistance. They bring the boat back so they can buy the bags down low again, and then they move off. Retail investors get so emotionally invested, they don't think about things logically. They just think hype, 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 hype. And then when crashes happen, they wonder why. I don't understand why. I don't know what you just replayed for. They wonder why. And the thing is, no, stop thinking like a retail investor. Stop thinking with your emotional being. Think logically. Think like a wealthy investor. Think about what price movement does psychologically, and you will find yourself sleeping better at night. You'll find yourself buying way better lows. You might not buy perfect lows, but you'll buy good ones. You will be a better investor than if you just stick to your emotions. Actually, more often than not, 9 out of 10 times, if you're an emotional retail investor, you are the person who buys the tops and sells the bottoms. Don't be that person. Be wise.
Absolutely. Yep. I tweeted it out, pretty much the same sentiment. I did not buy any Solana, right? I have, to be honest with you, I've been doing this so long that I'm not really super bummed about it, but theoretically, I'm bummed about it, right? And so one way that I could act on that motion is try to buy the Solana as it's moving higher, right? Oh, well, I better have some exposure, right? No, that's the bad thought. The good thought, right? The pro thought, the alpha, the top G thought is what? It's where are there still discounts in the market of assets that could do this tomorrow, right? Or assets that could do this in the future. Mm-hmm. And I would make the argument that the assets that are going to do that are going to be Amazon, Google, Tesla, right, on the stock side. And then there's plenty like today we're also seeing Uniswap do really well today. Right?
Let's think about that too, though. Let's think about that too, though, T-Shirt, because there's gonna be some people who are saying, "But Tim, you're wrong about Solana because they just signed a deal with Amazon and they just signed a deal." I don't know if we're going to cover this or not because I was still looking for the article, but I know Discover Crypto covered it today. They just signed a deal with the Mexican government to do stuff with the Mexican government to help them, right? So they just signed these massive deals. The price has to keep going up. Let's learn our lesson here, guys. Go back to my screen here, T-Shroom. Do you guys know what chart this is? You can look in that top left corner and you'll see it very quickly. This is the Matic chart. Why am I bringing up the Matic chart, guys? Because these massive pumps on Matic were massive deals. I don't remember which one applies to which, but they signed deals with Disney. They signed deals with Coca-Cola. Matic was the epitome of the altcoin that instead of other coins that just stayed down low, Matic exploded. It was in a world of its own. Everyone said Matic is the coin to be. It rallied 388% because of these massive, massive, massive collaborations with big companies, right? Mm-hmm. It then proceeded to crash after all that hype, and these deals still exist. It's not like Disney or Coca-Cola canceled them. I know Disney's not doing well right now, but Coca-Cola is still doing well, and Disney's still a respectable. I mean, they still have a very large business. It went on to crash 68% after all this hype, coming back down to not the bottom of where the bear market was. I don't think it will set a new bottom, but back to similar levels that it crashed to back in May of 2022. What's my point here? If you're saying, Tim, you're not understanding this, Solana has to rally. They just signed massive, massive deals. We've seen coins do this and then have healthy pullbacks. A lot of people said that's what the whole thing with the XRP. Oh, Tim, we're not going back to 55 cents. You don't understand. They just beat the SEC. It's all up from here. We still came back down. So again, even saying, Tim, taking into consideration they just signed these big deals is still thinking emotionally rather than thinking critically. They signed these deals, but they haven't accomplished all of them just yet. They're not moving a bunch of Solana here, there, here, there, here, there. They're rallying based off of hype, based off of news. You still want to keep your wits about you. Continue to look at the charts. And I'm telling you, Solana is not ready to go hit new all-time highs just yet, but I'm loving the hype that's building because it does give us a window into how explosive this bull market can be. Matic has not been explosive recently, but I think the bull market for Matic is going to be explosive. Why? Because of those deals with Coca-Cola and Disney. That's going to be very good for Matic long-term. It just isn't the time to start talking about new all-time highs just yet.
Yeah, I think Matic is a great example of a coin of an asset on the crypto side. That's like if you just have an itch that you just cannot put away, right? You have to buy today. I think Polygon, it's a great one to go into, right? Because it has buzz, it has an excellent track record, right? But it's only up 2% today, right? I'm also looking at AVAX. AVAX is popping today, right now as we're speaking. That, if you'd bought that when Solana started to spike, you'd be in a much better situation. Taking a look here, you can see that Litecoin, Quant, and XDC, all of these have really good, well, maybe not Litecoin so much, but all of these have great narratives. They're down today. These are the names you want to be excited about today because they're down, they're on discount, right? It's also Compound, Caspa, those are up, right? Do you want to buy them when they're up? Well, they're not up as much as maybe as Uniswap, right, or AVAX or Solana today. Man, Uniswap pumping all the way to 15. But that's when you want to buy. What's funny is you hear in investing oftentimes is that they usually refer to the stock market, but any place where there's trading of assets, if your local grocery store today said, hey, 50% off bananas, right?
Yeah.
Or bananas are super cheap actually. 50% off your favorite cereal right now. You wouldn't be able to find a parking spot because everybody would be trying to get down there and buy their kids cereal.
People love cereal.
People
That's
love
the
cereal,
real moral of the story.
Right? But if I go out tomorrow and I say, hey, shares of S&P down 50% off, right? People are going to sell it, right? Now, smart people are going to actually buy the S&P if it goes down 50%, depending on why it went down, right? But that's the kind of the psychology you have to have as a longer-term investor is like, you got to see where the value is. You can't buy high and sell low. You got to buy low and sell high. And sometimes those really intuitive and obvious lessons get forgotten in the frenzy of the emotional moment. And right now, take a look, guys. It's a moment, right? This is a moment to celebrate. It's a moment to get excited. 13% upside, 16% upside on two, very solid names, right? That's exciting. So what do you do with that emotion? You celebrate. Tweet about it, right? Call a friend. Orange pill them. Say, hey, you better get into crypto. It's going up, right?
Yeah.
But you don't need to buy in and try to chase it higher because more than likely we're going to go ahead and get lower prices here pretty soon on those names because of this chart right here. We are not to the halving yet. We are not even really that close, right? We have months until we're at the halving. If you look back historically where we are getting into the purple, there's still sideways action. And back here in 2020, there was a decent move to the downside. Right, Tim, do you know offhand what percentage it was, this move right here?
Well, if you don't count COVID, 50%.
Yeah, so 10% down to, 10,000 down to 5.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the dip before that. I don't know what the COVID dip was, but yeah, it was pretty significant. It was, I think we went from like 10 to, it was more than 50% because I think we went from 10 to 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was,
but it was COVID. So
that was a black swan, doesn't really count. But if you go back here, right, and you look, we were sideways as we were going purple, right? So blue, kind of where we are now, like right here, right? Months out from the halving, there was a big spike up, right? But you want to be buying, you want to be DCing because you never know that there could be instead a black swan that dips it down, right? And that's where you start to get more into the tinfoil hat stuff, whether or not that's going to work. I think there's plenty of stuff to talk about to where we don't need to get into that too much. But Tim, we've got some news, speaking of which, but did you have any final thoughts on this?
Yeah, one question, and then we'll get to that news, which we also have to do. Do we have trivia today?
We do. Of course we have a factoid.
Well, let's get the question here. I had to scroll up here a little bit. A lot of people engaging in chat. Love seeing you guys engage this much in chat. It just means I missed the comment. I think it was King D that said it. So I'm going to have to, I'm not finding it, so I'm just going to have to make it up. All right, so he pretty much asked, but Tim, do I long or short here? That's what I want to know. All right, let me tell you why you should not do either one of them. The temptation, if you are a contrarian, is to short this. And if you put a, I'm not going to say this. I don't want YouTube to take anything down. If you said, Tim, you have to choose. Tim, you have to choose the long or short right now, right? I'm going to enter a short, right? I'm going to enter a short rather than a long. Now, I'm not going to enter that. Hopefully, they're not telling me how much I have to short because I don't want to short a significant amount, but I probably would choose short. But I'm going to tell you right now, my philosophy is in a season of hype, in a season of upward hype, you do not talk about shorting. You talk about take profit, and then you look for the next buy spot. in a season of devastation where the price is just shooting the downside, you talk about places to acquire more long-term holding. You don't talk about longs. You don't trade the opposite of the trend. Trying to catch a falling knife or a shooting star is not the right move as a trader, especially if you're not experienced. Maybe if you told me you had 30, 40 years of trading experience, first of all, you would not be commenting on Investing Bros chat asking if we should long or short right now. But secondly, you know more things than the average person, right? But if you're a newer trader, the thought you should be thinking right now is, let's talk about Solana. If I own Solana and I own Solana, maybe I bought down at $20, maybe I bought down at $8, I don't know. You should be asking, where should I be taking profit? Not, hey, where should I trade against this momentum? Because there's still an outside chance, a non-zero probability that the hype could just continue, right? You see articles spread across the internet today talking about an $100 Solana, $1,000 Solana, and people just want to pump. Right? We just saw this happen with Bitcoin, where Bitcoin probably should have stopped at 30,000, and then it probably should have stopped at 31,000, and then it probably should have stopped at 32,000, and then it probably should have stopped at 34,000. It just kept going, right? So if you had shorted against that momentum, you would have gotten wrecked. But if you had taken profit somewhere, I would have said, hey, good for you. You didn't lose any money. You gained some money. You took some profit. You're a wise investor. Now look for the next entry point to buy in. I am not looking to short Solana. And I'm not taking any profit on Solana right here. I took profit on everything I want to take profit already. But if I did have a lot of Solana right now, I'm not asking where I'm going to short it. I'm asking where am I going to take profit and wait for a significant pullback to acquire more. Because even though I think the bull market explosiveness is still a ways away, I do think we're in a movement of setting higher highs and higher lows. You don't want to short those. Don't short bull markets. Don't short bull trends. Short bear markets and bear trends. Long bull markets and bull trends. Yeah. This is a bull trend.
Yeah, I would second that. Look, the last year and a half been a great argument for having your finger on that short button, right? Mm-hmm. Being ready to short. We are now in a period where you need to be a highly advanced trader to be even thinking about shorting crypto assets. Why? Because of the volatility, right? I show this stock to flow chart a lot, but the reality is in crypto, there, tomorrow there could be some kind of liquidity event with a major government in the UK, right? In the US, even India or Brazil. Like there could be some major event. There's several countries that are on the brink of bankruptcy, Argentina being one of them. Something could happen in the world, and the price of gold and Bitcoin could be a flight to quality, flight to safety very quickly. And you don't want to be short during that period of time. But but that's an argument for never being short. So I guess that's not extremely valid. But now that we're in a bull market, those types of big headlines are more likely to happen because companies have been doing what? They've been sitting on projects that they've been developing and waiting to release in the bull market. Entire new companies will be announced during this bull market because they don't want to go public. They don't want to go release their product in a bear market, right? When they do that, they're going to be spending a lot of money on PR campaigns, marketing campaigns saying, go get into crypto generally, just to bring fresh money into it, depending on how big the project is. Tim, we've got a lot of news. You ready to get into it?
Well, let's do this. Everyone, if you guys have enjoyed the episode so far, now you can smash the like button. If you weren't entertained before, I feel like especially the last 5 minutes conversation, if you didn't catch anything else in this, that was some great conversation. Smash the like button. If you're new here, hit subscribe. We're about to do our trivia question today. We do this in every single live show. You learn something new. You have a little fun. And then we're going to jump into some news. And let's go ahead and kick that off here, T-Shirt. What's the elf got for me today?
Absolutely. Well, backed by popular demand, the Factoid Elf has another Who Said It. Who said it, Tim? Bitcoin is exciting to me because it shows how cheap transactions can be. Maybe somebody who rhymes on a somewhat consistent basis. Trying to throw you off on that one. Don't pay attention to that hint.
Okay.
Bitcoin is exciting to me because it shows how cheap transactions can be. Was it A, Dr. Seuss? Just kidding. Was it A, Bill Gates? B, Elon Musk?
That's a hard one.
C, Larry's Fink? Or D, RFK Jr. Burger?
Hilarious Fink
said it. Who said it, Tim?
I'm really okay. So I'm gonna say it's B or C. Why? Because these are two people concerned with transaction fees. Bill Gates and RFK are not concerned with transaction fees.
Okay.
I want to say Larry Fink. I want to say that's a Larry Fink quote. I don't think that's something Elon would I don't think that's where Elon would gravitate. I could see him saying it, but I'm much more likely to think about the investor, the person who's constantly moving money around, Larry Fink. And he's not just investing for himself; he's investing for millions and millions of people. So I'm going to say, see Larry Fink.
All right,
said this
quote. There it is, locking it in. I think the factoid elf has stepped up the difficulty a little bit with this one, but we're still having fun. You ready to kick off our news segment here, Tim?
Let's do it.
Well, you mentioned it, and there's almost no results for this, but I think this is an extremely new piece of news, and there's just very little media about it, very little media buzz, but it is kind of big. So Etherfuse launches stable bond, tokenized bond offering for retail investors in Mexico. It's probably why maybe more. There's a lot more search results if you type it in Spanish. That's maybe my guess. Live from the heart of Amsterdam, I got to introduce stable bonds at SolanaCon Breakpoint 2023. This is more than just a presentation. It's a call to action for a brighter, more secure financial future, unless the Solana blockchain pauses. But that's from Etherfuse. There you are. There you go. So there's a pretty big con going on right now in the Netherlands and Amsterdam specifically. So that's pretty fun. And, that's a breakthrough. I guess that there was some kind of deal made with the Mexican government to go ahead and make this happen. That is definitely going to be playing a role in why you're seeing Solana make a move to the upside, in a strategic move to tap into Mexico's thriving bond market. I know I've been gunning to try and get me some Mexican bonds, and now I can on the blockchain. Etherfuse is set to launch stable bond. All right, these guys are going to do some stuff. That's cool. Now we're starting to see why Solana's doing well. I'm not going to sit here and shill Etherfuse. I have no idea about it. Guys, for all I know, this could be kind of scammy, but
you keep going, T-Shirt. I got a surprise coming.
Okay.
You keep going.
Okay. So I'm going to keep going here. All right. So more news here. Actually, I'll get some boring news out of the way. We are the Investing Bros, right? In case that's new to you, go ahead and leave us a like, leave us a subscribe. So we would be remiss that if on the day the IRS announces some very important information that we would not cover this. We are Investing Bros. Guys, if you're not in a tax-advantaged instrument like a 401k or an IRA, look, that is the key to compound growth in the long term. So you're going to want to do that. And I'm not just trying to sell anything here, or am I? But the IRS has announced that in 2024, retirement account contribution limits are $23,000 for 401ks and $7,000 for IRAs. If you don't know what this means, that can mean two things. First, you need to know what this means if you're going to be getting into investing, right? If you don't know what this means, then that's a clear sign that you are kind of in the newer category of investing, right? Or you don't live in the U.S., in which case these acronyms may mean nothing to you, right? But these are retirement plans that are tax advantaged, and essentially you put money in through your whole life. And then when you turn some age, probably north of 60, the government's like, okay, now we won't tax you on your gains from that. Okay, so this is a pretty big print. This number usually hovers around 5,500, to around 7,000. So the government's giving you a little bit of slack here. Go ahead, Tim. The people don't want to hear about the IRS and 401k.
Nobody wants to hear about the IRS. They want to hear about this guy.
There he is.
This episode is brought to you by Santa Claus, because Brody has a mother who is amazing and loves him and cares for him, and also believes that we should start celebrating Christmas and decorating for Christmas the day after Halloween. So I come home from work today, and he's in his finest Santa Claus outfit.
Tim, is this just foreshadowing for the Santa rally?
Oh, the Santa rally. Yeah.
Brody's early. He's early on the Santa rally.
And he has been bullish. Listen, his first major appearance on the channel was right there before all of the bullish chaos. Oh, yeah.
Look at him. He's getting bullish.
Oh, tell him about it.
He just rediscovered the micro.
Yeah. Get that nice and moist. Do you have anything to say? Yeah. He's speechless about how bullish he is.
He is. That's what it seems to be.
Yeah.
Well, there was somebody who wasn't speechless yesterday on the National Bitcoin White Paper Day, and that would be Gary Gensler. Tim, I want to get your take on this. I covered it this morning, or was it yesterday? Whenever I covered, yeah, it was.
I think you talked about it
this
morning. Yeah.
So Gary Gensler, I'll read the quote for those who haven't known. By the way, yesterday, kind of a Bitcoin's birthday, low key. I don't think the community's 100% on that, whether or not that's Bitcoin's. But anyway, if Satoshi Nakamoto went as Satoshi Nakamoto for Halloween, would we be able to tell? Says Gary Gensler.
Yeah.
Or Gary Gensler is using ChatGPT to try to be funny. Happy 15th anniversary to Satoshi's famous white paper that started crypto. Any crypto companies that are now okay. So this is how I covered it this morning, and this is how I'll cover it again. In this part, love it. Right? Had me in the first half. Gary, can we be friends again? I'm starting to wonder. Could we go back to the beach and, just kind of splash each other in the waves again and just, have fun, make a sandcastle together? No, because this is what you hit me with at the end. Any crypto companies that are tricking investors should start treating them to compliance with the securities laws. You lost me in the second half. Tim, what do you and Brody think about this here quote?
Well, Brody just minted some Safe Moon in his diaper.
Okay. Wow.
So that was I don't know if the mics picked it up, but it was explosive nonetheless. And I'm checking to make sure there's not leakage.
Okay.
But I do think Gary, people tried to read way too much into that tweet. He's clearly aware. I mean, he probably spends a large portion of his day thinking about cryptocurrencies. The question is, does he think positively or negatively? I think there's a lot of FUD and FOMO out there right now. There's been a bunch of articles circulating that potentially he is like somewhat seeming like okay with Bitcoin ETFs and lining them all up, because this is what people are not talking about. Like, everyone's talking about, he won his appeal, or Grayscale won their appeal that says that he has to review their. Like, I think people need to understand that they didn't win an appeal saying he has to approve. They won an appeal saying that they have to review. They refused to review the application from Grayscale. Now they just have to review it. There's no one telling them they have to approve them. Now, if they don't approve them, there's going to be massive lawsuits, and track records, especially from like BlackRock, would say they're probably going to approve them, right? So I'm not going to say this to make you guys think that he's not going to, but there are people on the internet right now who think that yeah, okay, true. They think that Gary Gensler might be sucking everything up in the attention to then come out in January or March and deny all of the ETFs, because that's still well within his right of ability to do so. No one tells him he has to. He just has to review them. So he's taking his sweet time. I do think he's going to approve them. I do think that he doesn't have a good case. That would be the end of his job. If he denies them, the lawsuits that will come out are going to force Congress and those powers that be to replace Gary Gensler. But would that not be crazy? How crazy would that be if we get to like March and we're like, finally, it's March, he's going to approve all these ETFs, and then he just mass denies all of them?
Yeah.
That would be funny. That would be funny, and it would make a lot of people look silly.
Kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Well, drop a 1 in chat if you totally zoned out from what Tim was saying and just watched Brody. I know I did. Let's take a look here at a couple other news stories, and we'll get Brody's take on those. SafeMoon, you already mentioned it. The U.S. government has arrested SafeMoon's founders John Coronoy, Kyle Nagy, and Thomas Smith. I like. Okay, so that sucks for them. Let's take a look here at not that one, this one. Justin, PayPal receives approval to offer crypto services in the United Kingdom, which is actually pretty cool. I haven't taken a look at PayPal stock to see if there was any kind of reaction to that, but more than likely there was a little bit. Okay, Tim. Goodness.
He's minting more again. Like, it's his post-snap mint.
I love it.
Of SafeMoon.
I love it. Yes. Okay, so that's pretty much all from a news standpoint. There was one Zero Hedge post that we usually cover, and I'll cover it here. This is so in the red, these are words that were omitted, slashed out, and then words that were added are underlined. So there's not a lot here, so I'll just go ahead and read what's going on. Recent indicators suggest that the economic activity and then has been expanding was removed and was replaced with expanded at A, and then solid was removed, replaced with strong pace in the third quarter. Okay, so I'll read that again. Recent indicators suggest that economic activity expanded at a strong pace in the third quarter. So they literally just replaced with a different acronym the word solid. Solid to strong. I think based on that, I'm going all in on the S&P. I'm selling all my crypto, all my stocks, and I'm going all in based on that one adjective change right there. And you better be doing that too at home, or else you're an idiot. Just kidding. Don't do that. Not financial advice. We're just having a good time. Jobs gained. Job gains have, and then slowly in recent months has been removed and replaced with moderated since earlier in the year, but remains strong, and the unemployment rate has remained low. Inflation remains elevated. And then here in this sentence, they added financial and credit conditions instead of just tighter financial and credit conditions. So,
yeah.
I don't know, Tim, is there anything to pull away from that, or is that mostly gobbledygook?
There is something to say that if we see some sort of rebound, which, by the way, you do it for me because I can't. Go to the Dixie chart. We're seeing this is actually pointed out by Caleb Franzen.
No way.
The other day, there is a bull flag on the Dixie, right?
Okay.
Not great. Also, what have people been super excited about here last week when it comes to Bitcoin and the stocks? They're talking about the divergence of Bitcoin and the stocks. Now, it's too early to call that for certain, but if the stock market has been moving downward for the most part, and Bitcoin's moving to the upside, and now we start to see the S&P potentially rebound a little bit. Well, if some people were moving wealth away from the stock market and putting their value into Bitcoin, and they're moving them in reverse ways, and now they're going to see a relief come to S&P 500, guys, those of you guys watching the show right here, and us, me and T-Shirt, we believe in Bitcoin more than the stock market, but millions of other people would rather have their money in something they would consider safer, like the stock market. And so if there's bullishness there, you also could see crypto profits be moved back into the stock market in that continual discussion of a potential divergence there. So you'd have to go down to the daily chart, T-Shirt. I mean, you're on the weekly chart, so it's going to be harder to see. Go to the daily chart for everybody here. Bada boom, and then kind of zoom out just a little bit. So you can see that sideways choppy action, but it's back up now. You can see a very good, it's a slanted pull, but a nice little pull all the way back there where that buy signal is from chart prime. And then that sideways movement there, that's just a very small consolidation period that very much looks like a long-term bull flag. It would actually send price of Dixie all the way up to 113. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think the Dixie's going to make it all the way to 113, but it could absolutely break back out bullish. And if it does, that's not a good sign necessarily for crypto either, because that is one that it's not perfect, but more often not, that still stays. They go in opposite directions. The Dixie has paused while Bitcoin has been on this massive rally. If they continue to the upside, that could be a lot of power and value coming out of Bitcoin that funnels and fuels that.
Yep, absolutely. Well, while we're on it, since it is a Fed day, let's check out the oil prices have gotten back down to 80, right?
Yeah.
Put in a low back here in early October, and now closing the month of October here at 81, and we're only pushing lower. Had a nice big wick up back to 83.3, rejected, came all the way back down. Now looks like it's going to close the day below $81 per barrel. So oil playing ball. It was starting to look a little iffy here. We got all the way up to 95.
That's another thing, T-Shirt, to think about. Like when we're talking about crypto prices, a lot of times you would say that these should move together, but there's been a lot of people speculating that money has been moved into Bitcoin and crypto because of recession scares like the oil prices going up. Well, if it's true that the fear of oil prices going to the upside and recession is what caused people to flood into crypto to store their value, as those oil prices drop and recession fears dwindle. And by the way, that's another thing that Jerome Powell talked about today. We didn't kind of get to that point, but we did talk about Jerome Powell kind of saying at this point they're not too concerned about an incoming recession. That actually, in a weird way, like it'll be long-term bullish for Bitcoin, obviously. But because there's been a lot of consideration recently that potentially you need to get over into Bitcoin to keep your value protected during a recession, that could be another catalyst to a short-term pullback in price action. If we're feeling better about the economy, it'll allow the scared money back out of Bitcoin, and it'll prepare for the real money that people know the long-term value to come back in later.
Mm-hmm. Again, leave a 1 in chat if you didn't hear a word that Tim just said because you were watching Brody. But no, I obviously I agree. We got to be careful. We got to be vigilant. But keeping these, I mean, this is why we do this, right, guys? Because Tim and I were utterly fascinated by this kind of stuff, all the different market dynamics that that ultimately come into what is the Bitcoin price going to be tomorrow, right? Now, we're just here, we're rocking out. And,
yeah, we need to get our answer to our trivia question, and then I might cut out a little early to deal with this safe moon that I've acquired via my son.
Yeah.
But we'll do that. We'll do some Q&A to wrap it out. I know you'll be able to do some Q&A and wrap it out for the last 10 minutes. But we'll make our announcements, and I might end it early today on my side.
Mm-hmm.
But what is the answer to the question? Who is the quote by?
Okay, so you're asking the question, who said it? Bitcoin is exciting to me because it shows how cheap transactions can be. Well, it actually was not Larry Fink.
Yeah, I see the red X next to it, so that's not a good sign.
The answer to the question is the sound effect, and then the answer to the question is Bill Gates. So Bill Gates said Bitcoin. I'm not going to read it again, but yeah, he said it.
How long ago did he say that?
That is a question that you have asked that I do not know the answer to, but that's okay. I can look it up.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
It was. This would have been a very, I think, pretty old quote here.
Yeah. So we're gonna, T-Shroom's gonna do some Q&A here, wrapping out the show. I'm gonna call it a day here, but I just wanted to leave. First of all, smash the like button for this guy right here. Tell them to do it. Tell them to smash like. Okay, lower the mic. There we go. Yeah. 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 So do what Brody said. Smash the like, hit subscribe. Tomorrow, I want to remind you guys, we still have our morning videos. So every morning at 8:30, I'm putting out some TA and some, a good, concise, about a 10-minute video. And then T-Shirt goes live at 9 a.m. for our news update of the day. But tomorrow is our gold members only. So 3 p.m. gold members only in Discord. If you guys join us here on YouTube, become a member, you support the channel, but you also get some really cool stuff behind the scenes and get entered into special levels on Discord. That'll be 3 p.m. tomorrow. You don't want to miss it, all of our gold members. With that said, though, T-Shroom, take us away with Q&A to wrap up the show, and I'll see the rest of you guys tomorrow morning.
Absolutely. Bye, Tim. Have a great rest of your day. All right, guys. So let's take a look here at Zero Hedge. Just see if there's any kind of new market updates. But let's also take a look here at the NASDAQ. We'll leave it there. We'll leave it there while we do Q&A. How about that? Throw it on the NASDAQ on the 1-hour chart and just watch as the stock market tries to make a comeback here from a month of losses. Let's see. Let's see what's going on in the chat. I thought it was Norma Stritz. Nope, that's not who said it. I love my morning naps. Yes. Yes, I don't know where you're watching that it's the morning right now. Where would that be? Hawaii? No. No, not Hawaii. Somewhere though. Matt C had to run. Guys, let me know in the chat what questions you would like answered. One thing I am noticing here on the 1 hour is that the NASDAQ is coming into the dynamic reactor here from Chart Prime. Also coming into the equilibrium zone. So we'll be facing some significant resistance here in the next probably, we're about to see the market close. So tomorrow it's gonna really show off whether or not, it's gonna make a move higher. Obviously here at the close, we've got Apple's earnings coming out, I believe. Let me just triple check that it's coming out the end of the closing. Yeah. There it is. Yeah, at market close. So this one will be interesting to watch. I don't know what the predictions are, but ultimately this guy's got to do well in order for this rally to continue for the NASDAQ. If it doesn't, then you might see the market go ahead and sell off this rally and make a move back down to 12.5 and probably even push lower. But look, here on the 1 hour, the NASDAQ actually tipped it into the discount zone there for Chart Prime. Not too bad, but if we look out on the 1 month, really zooming out, you can see here that the NASDAQ has been gaining some steam ever since this big sell-off here back in 2022. You can see that this rally has been successful in penetrating back up above the midline of the Bollinger Band and also earned a strong buy signal from Chart Prime with a green trend assistant. So what does that mean? That means that there's confluence, baby. Let's also see what the MACD was saying around that point. Yeah, so the MACD was peaking out there. Again, we're on the monthly charts here. The MACD was peaking out. The MACD lines were both separating continuing to signal bullishness. So, of course, we got that buy signal. Now, what you might notice is that was not a good time to buy this name, the NASDAQ, right? Because it's freaking retraced all of the, not all of the gains, but 10% of those gains, it just said, handed right back to the market, said, hey, you can have all this back. But that could change. We're coming into the midline of the Bollinger Band. If we come back and test that, that would put us down at 12.2. Let's jump back over to crypto, though, because you probably don't care too much about the NASDAQ. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But in contrast, you can see that it took Bitcoin a good bit while longer to penetrate through that midline of the Bollinger Band and then kind of play around with it, not really figuring out what the heck it wants to do before it launched back here in October. So, launched higher and is now, looking like it's going to go up and test that top line of the Bollinger Band there. Again, we are on the monthly charts. Not so much of Ethereum. I believe it's still kind of in that trying to figure out what it wants to do phase, if it wants to try to test higher or go, back and test that midline again. We shall see. It does have some uptrending lines of support here that would put it back around 1607. Boy, that'd be quite a sell-off, wouldn't it? I think that's more than 10%. Yeah, that's going to be put it at around 14%, call it. So that would take a little bit of doing to get it back there. What's Tesla doing? Fading TradFi said. And then I was also asked, how did Matthew Perry really die? Not sure about that one. Not sure about that one at all. How did Tim find a woman to procreate with? That is a question. That is a question there. Apple estimated earnings 1.3, estimated revenue 89. Thank you so much, Shano. I appreciate that. Let's take a look at Tesla, and then maybe we'll look at NIO, although that may have just been put there to troll. Let's take a look here at Tesla, which is finally getting a bit higher, guys. Man, out on the monthly, let's start there. That's where I like to start. We're above the dynamic reactor here for Chart Prime. We don't get a equilibrium out this far because the data, not enough data. But we are starting to see the MACDs tick back into the red. So not loving that. Not loving that. Could be more sell action to come. As you can see here, it's it's sliced down. It didn't do as much playing and diddling in the middle here with the midline of the Bollinger Band. It kind of penetrated through. You saw that wick got all the way up to almost 300 per share, right? But that was too much resistance for it. Probably trying to make a move too high, too fast there with Tesla. And now it's back all the way down to 200 per share. So let's drill back in, see on the 1 hour, because that's going to be a lot more interesting here, kind of what we're seeing with Tesla as it has, imagine that, rebounded right off the midline here on the 1 hour chart, right off that midline of the Bollinger Band, penetrating through the top line of Bollinger Band, bouncing off what? The discount zone. That almost perfect bounce from a candlestick standpoint. Of course, the wicks went quite a bit further down into the discount zone. We did get a nice bottoming histogram here from the Prime Oscillator Pro, the MVP Pro oscillator here. That looks pretty good. And if I can expand out the MACD lines, that's not telling us too much that we don't already know. That buying momentum is picking up here. Let's go back out to the daily, see what we can't find out here on Tesla. Again, Tesla looking pretty strong here into closing for the New York session. It is 4 p.m. here. It's about to be 4 p.m., here on the East Coast of the United States of America. We are coming in. We did not get anywhere near the discount zone here for Chart Prime. So I will say that could still be in play. We're kind of, you could say we kind of hit the midline here between the equilibrium and the discount zone. Maybe found some support, but there's not a lot of clear support where it tripped into. So let's see if we can. Let's erase some of this noise. Let's actually see. So we're still under a sell rating here from Chart Prime, but the trend assistant and the trend assistant, is red. So we're under a sell rating, but that was so long ago, it's probably not super relevant. We're waiting for a new print. That's really what Chart Prime is really saying the loudest is uncertainty. Haven't had a print of a signal here since September 22nd. So it's been many moons here. We are getting a lot of bright bottoming candle here from the MVP oscillator here, Prime Oscillator Pro. That's pretty nice to see. And you are starting to see a waning of those red histograms. Those MACD lines, man, they go low. They go low. When was the last time we were that low on the MACD lines? It was all the way back here, and goodness gracious, January 2023. So late January 2023 is the last time we had Bollinger Bands stack this low. So a bull cross on these Bollinger Bands, which you are seeing on the daily chart, those Bollinger Bands curl back up bullish. Okay. So but you know, what I'm seeing that, what it's reminding me of though, is like back on the monthly chart, you do still have those red histograms that are just now sprouting and accelerating. So October could be a big month. Could pull this current red histogram on the monthly MACD. Could pull that back green, signaling a return to risk on for Tesla. But as of now, I'm just DCing. I do like this name, obviously, on the fundamentals. Never bet against Elon. But right now, that's my take on Tesla. I don't think this is the time to deploy quite yet. I think we have more downside to explore, so to speak, right? But I do think that there's enough bullishness kind of mounting here on the MACD as those red histograms do start to decelerate and the MACD lines do start to curl back bullish, that I am definitely not going to sell. And I probably won't stop DCAing either. Well, we're into the market close here. Let me know in the chat with the let's refresh CNBC. I'm sure they'll have the Amazon print here. Let's see what we can't find out. Nope, nothing yet. Oh, it'll be up here. Also, Zero Hedge probably print it. But it usually takes a couple minutes for any of these publications to tell me, even on the biggest of prints. So we'll give it a few minutes here. We'll go over. This looks like an interesting chart. Oop. All right, let's see what you all are talking about here in the chat before we go ahead and sign off. NIO is a painful one, Jack. Although looks like it double bottomed. Yeah. I don't think I'm gonna take a look at NIO. That's a Chinese competitor to Tesla. I think we're just gonna skip that one for now. Although, you know, you buy low, you sell high, right? So maybe it's not too bad of a time to look into NIO for yourself. Yes, diddle in the middle. That is an official technical analysis term. Fade and TradFi said, I'll take more at 150 to 180. Be nice if actually dips to 150. Yeah, I agree. I think talking about Tesla there, 150 Tesla shares would be nice. Jack Me said, I got NIO and Fisker, both more boring than crypto. Yeah, I don't touch the alternative EVs. I don't see it. I don't see the thesis really panning out, betting against Elon. The thing about Elon is he has like this network effect within himself, right? He's such a trusted entity. Last night, listening to the Elon Musk on Joe Rogan, I felt like I was listening to the prophets on high, right? And maybe I need to correct that. Maybe that's not what they are, and I need to adjust that for myself. But honestly, just as they're covering all the different issues, you know, whatever it is, I'm just thinking to myself, man, it just feels like this is true, like what they're saying, you know, kind of their perspective and their analysis. And it's just like, this guy's products, I don't want to bet against them. I don't want to take positions in this guy's competitors, right? That's just the kind of way that I see it. Fade and TradFi said, waiting to load up more. Yeah, batteries are getting a bad rep. I'm not confident long term. Not confident long term, yeah. Well, I mean, Chevy just pulled out pretty big of the EVs, you know, so that is a contributor to Tesla's thesis. Pretty sure that I can't believe it was some company, some EV that Chevy was backing pretty strong. I think it was just called Cruise. Yeah, it was like a Cruise. I think it's like a taxi service in California that was EV self-driving that Chevy was behind or GM was behind. Anyway, could mark a nice little market share grab opportunity for Tesla. All right, let's see if we can't find the print here for the Apple earnings. Guys, this is a big print, so I want to make sure that I get this to you here. We're only a couple minutes over. Let's see if anybody is even still watching. Yeah, we got still a lot of people watching. Go ahead and smash the like for me, guys. 81 watching, 55 likes. Let's get those numbers up. Let's get those numbers up, why don't we? Nobody wants to give me the Apple print. Nobody wants to give it to me. Nobody wants to give it to me. Let's go to TradingView itself and see if there's. Let's just go ahead and see what Apple is even doing in the aftermarket. So post-market, Apple's up. Post-market, Apple is up. Let's start closing some of these tabs. Boom, boom, boom. Still nothing. Let's see. I got a couple of prints here. I don't care about though. Airbnb sees fourth quarter revenue. Looks like it missed. Fourth quarter revenue, Airbnb, not a shocker there. Sunrun 1.2. Oh, that's talking about an impairment charge. So that's not a print. That's bad. That's real bad. Well, I wonder what that even. So an impairment charge usually is they have an extreme loss that they have to. Like there was a couple of companies that took an impairment charge because they had Bitcoin. I think MicroStrategies and Cathie Wood's ARK Invest had to take an impairment charge on their Bitcoin holdings. Let's see. Yeah, still no print here. Freaking 406. We're still in the dark. This is what happens when you're. I mean, it looks like it was probably a positive print here. So you get the earnings, estimate, still no print. No, still no print. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at the Apple chart. Not really a chart that I pay attention too much because I don't like to dabble with Apple too much. In my opinion, I think that they're the number one company in the world. So let's start with that, right? So they can only go down from there. It's one way to look at it. They got a ton of cash, though. And I don't want to bet against a company that's got a ton of cash, right? Because they can deploy that cash and they could, buy up a bunch of very profitable companies and, in the next year and do really, really well from there. But obviously, Apple putting in lower highs 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. And it's looked like if you can't get back up above 182, it's going to put in a 4th lower high, along with 1, 2, 3 lower lows. So not good looks for Apple, although right now it is trading slightly higher in the post-market. Let's see if anybody in the chat has provided me with the Apple print. Apple earnings are tomorrow, bro. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, that makes sense. That makes sense. All right, guys. Well, with that, I will go ahead and clear it out then. I'm going to close out the show. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure that you smash the like on the way out. Tomorrow is Thursday. That was what I was getting confused. All day I thought it was Thursday, but it is indeed Wednesday. And I thank you guys so much for watching. It really does mean a lot. We've got a free link for our free Discord down in the description. And then also, there's all kinds of exchanges down there. We've got an Uphold exchange that you can get Caspa. You can buy that coin on. And we've got a bunch of exchanges. We've also got decrypt.tax, which is an excellent tax service that you guys can pick up free 30 minutes with Ernest. Just tell them that the Investing Bros sent you. You're going to get 25% off and all kinds of fun in addition to that as well. Well, thank you guys so much for watching and listening. I've been T-Shroom, and we also had the pleasure of having Brody on the show today, which is a lot of fun. In addition, obviously, to Tim Warren. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Adios.
Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots that bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor, the TA. Shout it out loud on the PA. T-Shroom's news, got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots that bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.